DELSAR, the Champion the Hero, by A.D. Morway. Chapter 1. The Outcast. There are people in this world that don't know how to truly smile. Promise me you will help them, as you have helped me. Those are Soraya's last words to her son, 7 years ago. It was her final request. DELSAR vowed to give his all in helping people find happiness. Her words defined him. It was what she said that inspired the life and salvation of so many others. Who knew a simple smile would be such a powerful tool? Thank you, Mr. Guard. A very small and very dirty boy hugged DELSAR, who had knelt to the boy's height. He had been buried in dirt all night, and it was DELSAR who had found him. One of the many tunnels little Lloyd had dug collapsed and covered him up to his neck. His parents spent all night looking for him, as did many of the townspeople. DELSAR showed up in town about an hour ago. He was traveling back to the capital after a very successful mission with a few of his colleagues. Many considered using the King's Guard to locate a missing child a waste of their potential, but not DELSAR. With the Queen's blessing, he deployed his entire team of 12 to sweep the area in search of the child. It just so happened that it was DELSAR who located the boy behind an abandoned barn and dug him out. Even though the boy was now rescued, he still trembled, unable to find the courage to look into DELSAR's eyes. DELSAR wiped the boy's tears away and gave him a gentle smile. If you won't smile, who will? It was a quote he got from his mother so many years ago. Little Lloyd finally looked up at him, returning DELSAR's smile. This turned DELSAR's smile into a huge grin. Seeing someone smile meant he was fulfilling his promise to his mother. Lloyd started to laugh, a tension-releasing giggle of jettisoned anxiety. DELSAR couldn't help but laugh with him. Over there! Someone from the town heard the laughter and alerted the others of their location. The man suddenly realized who had found the boy. The Queen's champion! He dropped to one knee and bowed his head. DELSAR stood up next to the boy and approached the man. That isn't necessary, he told him. And please, just call me Arviacus. After his mother died, DELSAR had decided to take on a less generic. He's not just known as the Queen's champion. Because he always thought of others first, even simple peasants and missing children, he was oftentimes called the People's Champion. The man stood back up. It is truly an honor to have you in our town. Never mind me. Let's find his parents. Arviacus was used to people being awestruck by his presence. He never wanted to be popular or venerated, but it happened. He was often told, usually by the other guards, that he was unnecessarily humble. He didn't see it like that. To him, he was doing what was right, like so many others. Lloyd! It was the boy's mother. She caught a glimpse of them emerging from behind the abandoned barn. Mom! The two of them squeezed each other as if they would never let go. She turned her head, still resting on his. Thank you, Arviacus. What can we ever do to repay you? Please, your smile is all I desired, he replies. With that, she and her son give him very thankful smiles, cueing Arviacus that his job was done. That was nearly 6 years ago, 1 week before the Queen's murder, the murder that the kingdom accuses him of committing. All the smiles that took him years to create have turned into resentment and fear overnight. The love he had formed with the people was replaced with hate. Now everyone calls him the Queen's murderer. Since he was no longer the champion he had worked so hard to become, he took back his old name, DELSAR, and never went anywhere near the capital now. The Outcast is what he's known as out here. It's better this way. DELSAR remembers how the people he cared about, his country, turned on him over a lie, all because it was told louder than the truth. That's all it takes to have your life ruined. What is the point of helping people smile anyway? Smile is just a reaction to being happy, and happiness is only temporary. DELSAR knows this firsthand. His time of happiness has already passed him by. Making people happy is a waste of time. Now he only helps those that can afford him, and even then, he makes sure the people he helps aren't happy after. But sir, we can't afford that, says the frail mayor. And you said it was just a simple cave troll. Next time get your facts straight, and then I won't have to adjust my price. DELSAR has his finger pressed against the man's chest. Everyone has already given all they have. 150 is impossible, pleads the mayor. That's not my problem. It's yours, DELSAR states. Speaking of problems, it almost looks as if you no longer have any trolls around to ruin your day. Coming up with 50 more gold is definitely the problem I would rather have. Wouldn't you? I'll come up with something. The mayor runs off, looking rather panicked. He runs through the town trying to come up with 50 more gold. He returns with only 29 more pieces. This is every coin we have. We have nothing left. DELSAR snatches the pouch from the mayor. Fine. I'll take this. Oh, thank you, sir, says the mayor. You are very kind. A hesitant smile appears on his face. DELSAR hates making people smile. Happiness is fake. Just a small distraction to hide you from reality. I'll be back to collect the rest. Make sure you have it ready for me, or I'll have to take something a bit more precious from you as payment." He's probably never going to return for what he's owed, but he's sure just saying that will crush the mayor's joy. He's not here to make people happy. He's here to make money. "Of course, anything you need." The mayor's smile doesn't leave. "We'll have the money waiting for you when you return." He's still smiling? Whatever. His temporary joy will leave him with disappointment when he gets smacked by reality. "Newville thanks you," exclaims the mayor. Newville? What a lame name. "If there's anything else you need, let us know." "There is one thing," says DELSAR. "Do you know where the nearest tavern is?" "We don't have anything like that built yet," responds the mayor. "Our sister town in the east should have what you're looking for. Escor is about 10 miles down the eastern road." "Good. I'm leaving now. Bye." DELSAR doesn't care if his goodbyes seem blunt. As he turns to leave, the mayor gives him a more formal farewell. "It was an honor to have you defend us. You are a hero to us. Thank you." DELSAR leaves without looking back. His heart floods with sorrow and darkness. A hero? Really? His money did the saving. That's what the mayor should be thinking. It was a 3-hour walk to the next town. "Welcome to Escor," the sign reads, a much better name than Newville. The sun is well past the tree line by now, but people still bustle about. Finding a tavern should be relatively easy. All DELSAR needs to do is ask someone. That, however, is not how he likes to do things. He'd rather struggle for an hour than have any unnecessary interaction with people. Rena's Food and Inn. Perhaps not the highest quality tavern in town, but it's the first one he's found. Upon entering, DELSAR encounters a very energetic atmosphere. There is a dartboard, with players yelling whether they score or not. The waitress is shouting orders despite being feet away from the kitchen. There is even a band performing in the corner. 2 people, with a small crowd gathered around them. This is the kind of atmosphere he likes to avoid, but as long as he's quick about this and avoids any of the tenants, it shouldn't ruin his evening of solitude. He walks straight to the counter where the barkeeper greets him immediately. "Hello, friend. My name is Pilus. What can I do for you?" "I just need food and a room," DELSAR replies. "You're in the right place. This is Rena's Food and Inn. It's the best place in town." The barkeeper smiles joyfully, but DELSAR returns it with a cold stare. "Just give me today's special." "Hey, Mungie, 1 Rena's special," Pilus shouts over his shoulder. "That's 3 silver for the room, and because you're boarding with us, the meal is only 1 extra silver." "Deliver that to my room," DELSAR instructs. "We don't typically deliver the meals to the rooms." DELSAR slides him a gold piece. "Keep the change. But because you're a paying customer, we'll bring it to you." He waits a moment for some sort of thank you, or even just a response, but DELSAR doesn't give him any. "Right then. Here's your key. Your room will be up the stairs and the 3rd on the right." He hands DELSAR the key, which he snatches. "What do you want for a drink?" "Water," says DELSAR. Anything with flavor would give DELSAR some form of enjoyment that will only last until the drink is gone. He turns and says nothing else after demanding water as his liquid of choice. The stairs are clearly marked, so he walks that way. "Enjoy your stay," says the overly happy bartender. At least, he's overly happy to DELSAR. Whether it's paranoia or a simple case of muscle memory, DELSAR clears his room with his sword drawn. The dresser on his left and the chair on his right seem fine. No one would be able to conceal themselves beneath the desk. No one would be able to conceal themselves behind the desk in the back right. That just leaves the bed to the left of the window. He quickly peeks underneath it before finally sheathing his sword. He removes his bow from his back and unbuckles his belt. The kite shield, which he wears on his back like armor, he also removes and rests it on his lap as he sits on the bed. He begins inspecting his favorite possession. During the fight with the troll in Newville, he had taken a club strike from the monster that cracked against his back. It is something that will always have his back and never turn on him because of a lie or jealousy. Upon inspection, he spies a bit of caving near the left side, among the previous dents and scratches. This one is definitely new. The straps and integrity of the shield all seem to be okay. Satisfied, he places the shield with his bow and belt. He pulls off his hooded black cloak and checks his satchel. Everything seems to be there. He places the satchel next to his pillow, both for safekeeping and the fact that he carries a knife for protection inside. Lifting up his shirt and wincing from pain, he inspects the bruising to his ribs from the troll strike. A couple of his ribs are Unfortunately for DELSAR, there really isn't anything he can do about his broken ribs, other than making sure he doesn't sleep on his left side tonight. This is nothing new for him. He'd broken his ribs several times before. The only other bones he had broken had been in his hand. There is a knock on his door. DELSAR grabs his shield and holds it up to the bridge of his nose, covering his body down to his mid-thighs. He walks over to the door and opens it a crack. "I've got your food, sweetie," says the waitress, holding a tray with the plate and a glass. That was fast. DELSAR wasn't expecting the food for at least another few minutes. He opens the door and peeks around the corner before placing his shield down by the door. "It's just me," she intones. DELSAR grabs the food from her and flips her a gold coin. "What's this for?" "For not bothering me the rest of my stay." "Blunt, sure, but blunt is what he likes. Speaking of not wanting to be disturbed, there's a young woman downstairs looking for you." DELSAR rolls his eyes, purposely sharing his annoyance with the waitress. "She said she's been looking for you for quite a while," says the waitress, completely ignoring DELSAR's annoyance. "You are the outcast, right?" "So what if I am?" "Well, she's looking for you." Now it is the waitress. "Then what does she want?" "She told Pylus that she needs to talk to you." DELSAR lets out an exasperated sigh. "I'll tell her you're not available," she says. "No, it's fine. It's probably some job offer." DELSAR grabs his shield with one hand and flips it over his back. He places his tray on his bed and straps his belt around his waist. "Let's go," he says to the waitress. "Take me to her." She ushers him through the hall and down the stairs. "I'm Brianna, by the way." DELSAR doesn't respond because he doesn't care. He can tell that his silence is bothering her. There she is, in the corner. She points at someone sitting alone. She looks more like a girl than a young woman. He approaches the table but stays a few feet back, studying for any possible threat. He scans her up and down. DELSAR is only 22, so most people he gets hired by are older. You'd be forgiven for mistaking her hair for brown in bad lighting. However, in the chandelier light, it definitely looks mahogany, or a rusty red. She wears a frilled pink top with a drawstring at its crest and a long checkered brown skirt with leather boots to finish her look, all of which are ragged and in serious need of washing. "I can see you," she says. "You may as well just sit down." DELSAR is pretty sure she isn't a threat. "Very well." He slides into the bench across from her and is just about to get into business. "My name is Elidra," she says, stopping DELSAR from starting the conversation. "But you may call me Elder. Pretty much everyone does." DELSAR holds up his hand. "I don't care about your nicknames. If you have a job for me, spill it. And know this, I am very expensive." Elidra scowls a moment, but then continues. "I come from a small village in the west called Benor. It's right on the coast. A group of mercenaries invaded us and just started shooting everyone. Innocent people. All my friends and my family." She tapers off a bit. A random group of mercenaries randomly decide to attack a random village that most people have probably never heard of? Elidra snaps back from her memories. "I guess so. But that's just it. They got ordered away just before the attack, and now they won't return. I've told some, but no one believes me." "No kidding. Who would be stupid enough to have the guard removed from our borders? As far as I'm concerned, no one would." "But someone did, and now I think everyone I know might be dead." She gives him a very sincere look. "Please, DELSAR, I need your help." "Revenge?" he asks. "To rescue anyone who might still be alive. Please," she says again, looking as if she will break into tears at any moment. "No." It was like a jab in the stomach. "But," she starts. "I said no. Your story seems a bit crazy, and if it is true, there's no way I can stop a group of mercenaries on my own. This is not the kind of thing I do. If a half-dragon starts terrorizing your neighborhood, you come back and you let me know." "I plan to fight too," Elidra states with a very serious face. DELSAR scoffs. "You? Really? And what's wrong with that? It's my home." "You're too small and, frankly, too young." Elidra stands up and slams her hands on the table. "I'm almost 20, and I heard that you always used your wits and speed to defeat your foes." Elidra brings her hands to her mouth, realizing immediately the mistake she made. DELSAR thought she was referring to the outcast until she reacted the way she did. That's when he realized she meant Arvaicus. He exits the booth and grabs her wrist. "Come with me," he says, without giving her an option. "Wait," she demands, pulling against him, though she can't break free. "Where are you taking me?" "Don't speak," he instructs without looking back. He guides and pushes her into his room, slamming the door behind them. "Who sent you?" he demands. Elidra straightens her sleeve as she answers. "My father did." "And who was your father?" "Aldemir." She looks directly at DELSAR. "Listen, you can't just grab people and drag them around like that." DELSAR doesn't acknowledge her second statement. "And how do you know who I am?" "My village specializes in making dyes for paints and clothing, specifically the color blue. It's just one of the perks living near the ocean." "I don't care." DELSAR gives her a stern look. "It's all part of how I know." "No, it's useless information." "The Queen," she emphasizes as she continues, "always ordered the dyes from us. My father hand-delivered them to her. He used to see you with her, so he must have seen you recently and recognized you." "He must have?" "Well, he didn't tell me how he knew. He just told me." "And you trust your father?" "Of course I do. Don't you trust yours?" "I don't trust anyone, especially you right now," he says, poking his finger into her collar. She pushes it away. "Well, that's stupid. Everyone needs someone they can trust. DELSAR begins grabbing the rest of his stuff and securing it. Elidria watches him, but says nothing. As he walks past her, towards the door, he stops. Who else knows who I am? Does it even matter what I say? You don't trust me, remember? She crosses her arms and shakes her head as he walks on. She watches him leave the room and disappear down the hall. Wait, she shouts, running after him. She catches up to him on the stairs and taps his arm. He gives her no mind and continues down. I love my village and my family, she tells him. I will do whatever I can to save them. Right now, I know that means recruiting you. If I fail, they will all die. Don't you have anyone you love? Buzz off! DELSAR spins around and pushes her down. She hits the floor in a sitting position, hard enough to jar her, but not hard enough to bruise any bones. Most would be embarrassed. I don't know who you are, or even how you managed to track me. What I do know is that when I leave this bar, you will never find me again. I invite you to try, he says, pointing his finger directly at her. Tears begin to drip down Elidria's face as she sits on the floor. Do you not care about the innocent? They have done nothing wrong. DELSAR turns away and starts walking for the exit. No one cares who's... Someone grabs DELSAR by the shoulder, but DELSAR quickly puts the man into a wrist lock and brings him to a knee. Don't touch me, he says to the aghast man before pushing him away. I care, Elidria says, standing back up. I care for both. And you'll die caring. DELSAR pushes through the exit door and bumps into two guards trying to enter. Sorry, troopers. My humblest apologies. DELSAR gives a courteous bow and stands aside to let the guards pass. Just watch where you're going next time, one guard replies as he walks in. The other starts to follow, but quickly stops after passing DELSAR. Well, if it isn't the Queen's champion, you're under arrest. Shame on you for sending a girl by herself, says DELSAR, drawing his sword. The guards look somewhat confused by his comment, but don't respond to it. Don't make this difficult on yourself. Just come peacefully. I know about the kill on sight order. I think I'll take my chances. The guards are between him and the tavern, which means he can make a break for it. The armor a guard wears is heavy. They would never catch him. However, all guards are also equipped with a mini crossbow. He will only need to avoid 2 shots before he can get away. With his shield on his back, it definitely seems possible. Time's up. The first guard lunges at him with his sword drawn. DELSAR parries a strike and tries to counter with a slash to the guard's shoulder. The attack fails when it gets blocked by the other guard. A 2-on-1 is going to be difficult with crossbows involved. Typically, DELSAR would use his mobility in a situation like this, to get around and isolate. If he tries anything like that, they may just shoot him. Both guards attack, this time simultaneously. One strike is again about shoulder height, while the other comes low and from the opposite direction. DELSAR turns his back towards the higher attack, placing all his faith in his shield, while also stabbing his sword into the ground. One attack slides off his shield, while the other clashes with his sword. The instant both swords connect, DELSAR sends... Realizing he's not getting through the shield, the other guard strikes again, this time low. DELSAR jumps around his sword, again letting the blades clash before stepping on the guard's hilt, pinning it to the ground, and using his knee yet again, driving it into the guard's face. DELSAR whips back around to check on the first guard. A crossbow shakes in the guard's hand, but it is pointed at DELSAR nonetheless. Before he can react, 2 arms grab for the crossbow, sending the bolt way off target. Elidria struggles. The guard grabs her hair with his other hand and yanks her away from his crossbow. Elidria shrieks as her neck is wrenched awkwardly. DELSAR reacts immediately. He pulls his sword from the ground and charges the guard. Spinning counterclockwise, he strikes the guard in his side, creating a huge crunch as the armor bends and caves from the impact. The guard cries out in pain from his ribs snapping under the pressure. DELSAR quickly silences him, sending the palm of his hand into the guard's face. He hits the same bloodied location his knee struck moments before. The guard falls flat and doesn't move. DELSAR spins around and locates the other guard, also lying on his back, unconscious. DELSAR takes a couple of deep breaths and faces Elidria. If this really was a trap that she was a part of, why would she foil it? That guard had him dead to rights. As if she could read his mind, she says, I'm not your enemy. She holds out her hand, which DELSAR grabs, pulling her to her feet. You know why they want me dead, don't you? He asks her. What people believe doesn't make it true. But it doesn't mean it's not, says DELSAR. My father said you didn't kill the queen. I believe what he said is true, she tells him. Unfortunately, people will believe whatever they hear first. They act upon those beliefs. Whether I'm innocent or not, I will always be hated. I don't hate you, and I don't believe the first thing I hear. Well, the sheep do, and most people are just that. You don't need people to believe you to do what's right. Just stop. DELSAR holds his hand up, and then pinches the bridge of his nose. If you want me, I'm 100 gold a day, and another 500 on arrival. If I decide it's impossible and I walk, I still get payment for every day prior, If I do complete your suicide... Alidria is taken aback and tries to process what DELSAR just said. Wait, what? I'm taking the job, Alidria. Can you afford me or not? I think so. The Queen would buy our dyes for a high price. Our treasury should have plenty. Then are we agreed? DELSAR asks, holding out his hand. Alidria looks at it. Tears begin running down her cheeks. She nods her head a few times. Yes, she says, letting out a stress-relieving laugh. I agree. She takes his hand and shakes it. Then come with me. DELSAR sheaths the sword and begins walking back towards Newville. We have to put as much distance as we can between us and this place before those guards wake back up. What do you need of me? She asks him. Just do as I say and what's obvious. Anything else is a waste of time. Obvious? Alidria jogs up to DELSAR. Do you know where you're going? West. Even I know that. Do you know how far Benor is from here? Nope. 4 weeks, she says, sticking her finger up. DELSAR stops and looks at her. Your village was attacked a month ago? She brings her finger to her chin. I think it's been a month. Alidria, if by the time we get there is 2 months after the attack, no one will be left. Don't, says Alidria. Let me worry about that. I'm paying you to just look. That's what you said. DELSAR starts walking westward again. Newville should have a horse and carriage we can acquire. That will speed things up. Call me Eldra, she instructs. Everyone else does. I'm not calling you something unprofessional. Just do what's obvious. I'm pretty sure that's what you said. Eldra is easier and quicker to say than Alidria. Does it not make sense? That's not obvious, and I will not call you Eldra because we are not friends, he says. The extra syllables will not bother me, nor will they get me killed. Your loss. They walk for about 2 hours before DELSAR finally decides that they are far enough to put up camp. He sets up a fire and then uses 2 blankets to make a roof and a floor for sleeping. Didn't you already have supper? Alidria asks him, sitting on the other end of the log. Your interruption made sure I didn't, he says, annoyed that she's even talking to him. You got that fire going pretty quickly. Listen, DELSAR starts. If you wish to talk, make it relevant to the mission. I don't want to talk about how quickly I got the fire going. Alidria huffs, but doesn't quite get discouraged. If I remember, my father said the mercenaries called themselves the Darkened Wanderers. DELSAR coughs, almost choking on the dried meat. Impossible, he says, spitting bits of food as he speaks. How so? DELSAR swallows properly and explains. I defeated them almost 7 years ago. The Queen sentenced them to life. It can't be them. Perhaps I'm mistaken then, she says, shrugging her shoulders. It was over a month ago, and he only said it once. But you know, if they aren't dead, it could still be them. So what if it is them? You said you defeated them. That means you can do it again. I had a partner and well-trained guards who followed me into battle. You seem to think all those stories about me I did alone. We can recruit others then, she says very confidently. DELSAR gives her an annoyed look. No. But you said you always had others. I didn't say I couldn't do it. If people you hire find out who I am, it will make things even harder. I will do this alone. He puts his meat away and stands up. It's time you get to sleep. I'm not a kid, DELSAR. I don't need you telling me when to go to bed. Out of everything DELSAR has said thus far, that seems to be what annoyed her the most. Alidria, just do what's asked, says DELSAR. That's how we will get there quickly and how we will survive. DELSAR points at the blankets he set up. Alidria walks over to the structure and inspects it. This doesn't look big enough for both of us. It's not. I watch, you sleep. You're going to watch me sleep? She asks. What? DELSAR exclaims. No, I'm going to keep watch. She smiles as she lays down. You really need to lighten up. And you need to realize what you're about to get into. Your family and friends are likely all dead, and yet you joke with a stranger. Do you not mourn for those you've lost? How I mourn is none of your business, and believe me when I say that I have already experienced plenty. She wraps the blanket around herself and rolls over. 4 weeks of this, DELSAR says under his breath. Good night, DELSAR, she says, hearing what he said. She lays there, thinking the same thing. We need the Queen's champion, not this jerk. What am I supposed to do with him? She closes her eyes and lets her tears flow across her face.